Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the for loops. What are they and why we should be using them? For loops or loops in general, they allow us to repeat some lines of code for a fixed number of time or until a condition is met. Now, if you already know how many times you will be repeating your code, it's better to go with the for loops, although you can do the same with the while loop. And if you want to repeat your code until a condition is met, you should be using a while loop, although the same can be achieved with a for loop. The reason why we should be going with the for loop when we already know the number of iteration is that the code really becomes easy, and the same is the case with the while loop. When you have to repeat your code until a certain condition is met, the code becomes easier if we use the while loop, although we can use both type of loops for both of the scenarios. For example, let's say you have to print hello world 10 times on the console. Instead of copying and pasting the System.out.println 10 times on the editor and then running your code, although you will get the same results, but it's not a good approach. It's not scalable. We should be using a loop, and then loop will repeat this line of code 10 times for us, and that's how we should be writing the code. Now the syntax for the for loop is, the first part is the initialization part, where we initialize the variable. Then we have the condition part, and then we have the increment or decrement part, and then we write the Java statements that we want to execute. Before we can start with the loops, we need to understand how increment and decrement operators work. Although I have already explained this increment and decrement operator in the while loop video, but if you are not planning to watch that video, let me explain it for you again here. So let me create a new class. So this new operator that we will be heavily using with the loops is called increment or decrement operator. For example, if we have a variable number in which we are storing a value 10, and then if we say the variable name and then two plus signs, they are read as plus plus, so number plus plus. If we do that and if we run this code, if we print out the value of this code, we will see 11 on the console. This number plus plus, it increases the value of this variable by 1. Whatever is the previous value, it will take that value and it will increase it by 1. So if I run this code, I will see 11 on my console. If I put 20 here, and again if I say number plus plus, it will increase it to number 21, and I can call it multiple times to increase the number, but it will always increase the number by 1. So I have called it twice, so number 20 will be now increased to number 22. And similarly, as we can increase the number, we can also decrease the number. So for example, if I have another variable integer number 2 that contains a value 10, I can also use the decrement operator. It is called minus minus, number 2 minus minus. So it will decrease its value by 1. So if I print the number 2, I will see number 9 on my console. So this is how the increment and decrement operator works. This is the syntax. We write the name of the variable, then plus plus sign if we want to increase its value, and remember, it only increases the value by 1. And this is the minus minus for decreasing the value. Now let me show you the demo for the for loop. I'm going to write a piece of code that will print 5 times on the console hello world. So first let me write this code, and then I will explain line by line how that code is working. So here is the code. This code will print 5 times hello world on the console. So if I run this code, I will see hello world 5 times on the console. So let me debug this code so that you can understand better. So the value of I has been initialized to 0, and initially we have 0 inside the variable I, and then we are checking, is 0 less than 5? So yes, it is less than 5. So if the condition is true, we enter and execute the body of the for loop. It's exactly the same how the while loop works. So if we say step over, it goes again, executes the body, and that's why we see hello world on the console here. Then it again increments this number. So 0 will be incremented by 1. It will become 1. So is 1 less than 5? Yes, it is still less than 5. The condition is still true. So again, the body of the loop is executed. And then again, the increment happens. So 1 will become 2 and the condition will be checked again. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it is still less than 5. So again, the body is executed. So we see hello world one more time on the console. the value of I now becomes 2. So again the increment happens, this part I plus plus I is increased from 2 to 3, and then this condition is checked again. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it is still less than 5. So again the body of the loop is executed. Then again the I plus plus increment happens, so I is increased from 3 to 4, and then is condition is checked again. Is 4 less than 5? Yes, it is less than 5. So again the condition is executed. Now the value of I will be increased from 4 to 5, and then this condition will fail. 5 less than 5 is not true, and this loop will terminate and we will see our results. Remember, this initialization part, it is executed only once. Then for loops keeps switching back and forth between these two things, the increment operator and the checking of condition, and executing the body of the for loop. Now let me write one more for loop so that you can understand things better. So here, instead of printing hello world, let's print the value of the variable I so that you can understand it better. So we will see the numbers from 0 till 4. If we run this code, so we see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's understand what is going on and why we get the numbers from 0 to 4. So let me debug this code. I put a debug point here, and then the value of I is initialized first to 0. After that, condition is checked. Is I less than 5? Yes, it is less than 5. 0 is less than 5. So this line of code is executed, which prints the number 0 on the console, and that's why we see the 0 here. Then again, after executing the body, it increments the value I plus plus. So 0 will be incremented to 1, and then the condition will be checked again. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, it is less than 5. So again it executes the body. After executing the body, it again increments the number from 1 to 2 and checks the condition again. 2 less than 5, condition is still true, so it executes the body. It keeps on doing that as long as the condition is true. But when the value of I reaches to 4, next time when the increment will happen, I plus plus will increase the number I. So I plus plus will make this 4 to 5, and this time when the condition will be checked, this condition will fail. So 5 less than 5 is not true, so we exit the loop. Now let me show you one more demo. So let me make this 5 to 10, and let me change the starting point to 2, and then we say if I %2 is equal to 0, then we say print out the value of I. This time I have made two changes. First, I am starting my loop from 2, and I want to go till the number 10. If you still don't understand, you can understand like this. This is the starting point, this is the ending point, and this is how large we are taking the steps. So if we run this code, we will see all the numbers from 2 to 8 inside here. And now let me explain how things are working by debugging this code again. Initially, we put the value 2 inside I. Then the condition is checked. Is 2 less than 10? Yes, it is less than 10. So we enter the body, and the other condition is checked. Is it also an even number? Yes, it is an even number. So that number is printed on the console. Then again, the increment happens. So 2 will be increased to 3, and then this condition will be checked again. Is 3 less than 10? Yes, it is still less than 10. So we enter the body. But is 3 an even number? No, it is not. So it will not be printed, and again we go to the header of the for loop. Again 3 is increased to 4, and then this condition is checked. Is 4 less than 10? Yes, it is true. So we check the if condition as well again, and then 4 is an even number, so we print this number and we keep on going. Now the value of I has been increased to 9, and if we increase it by 1 more, it will become 10. And then if we check the condition, 10 is not less than 10. So that's why the condition fail, and the loop will terminate, and we will see the numbers 2 till 8 here. Now let me also show you how to print the numbers in reverse order using a for loop. and then we will do a comparison between while loop and a for loop so that you can understand the things better. Instead of initializing number from 2, I'm initializing it with number 10, and then I'm changing this condition. Instead of saying I less than 10, I am saying I greater than 0, because I am decrementing the values this time. And then instead of I plus plus, I say I minus minus. Let me remove it and let me print the value of I. So let's debug this code to understand how things are working. So initially the value of I is 10, then this condition is checked. Is 10 greater than 0? Yes, the condition is true. So the body of the loop is executed and we see 10 on our console here. Then again, after the body is executed, this decrement happens, and then the 10 is decreased from 10 to 9, and then this condition is checked again. So 9 greater than 0, still true, so we print the number 9. Then again 9 is decreased further from 9 to 8, condition is checked, condition is still true, 8 is greater than 0, so body is executed. And then we keep on going unless and until we hit the number 1. After hitting the number 1, when we further decrease the number 1, it will be decreased to 0, and then when this condition will be checked, 0 greater than 0 is not true, so we exit out of this loop. Now let me explain a little bit about how the things work in a loop. So let me copy and paste, and let me create another class. So again, the things, they are based on this condition. First, if I put a true here, I will get an infinite loop, because it only checks the condition. As long as the condition is true, I will be getting an infinite loop. So whatever we put here, we can put directly a boolean true or false, or we can increase or decrease numbers. We can write any condition, greater than sign, less than sign. As long as that condition returns true, this loop will continue to work. Second, this increment operator, it can be I is equal to I plus 2. Now the increment will happen in the steps of 2. So if I run this code now, instead of increasing the number by 1, this time the number will be increased by 2. So if I print this out, you will notice we get 2, 4, 6, because now directly we are changing the number from 2 to 4. I is equal to I plus 2. So this increment, it can be I is equal to I plus 5, I plus 10, I plus anything. You can write just anything in here. You can also write a decrement operator like this. You can also write I minus minus or I plus plus, whatever you see fit. And then this initialization part is just an initial value that we give to the variable. After that, how many times the loop will execute, it depends on the increment, how much big steps you are taking, and what is your condition. Now sometimes the students, they write these conditions in the reverse order. So for example, if I say I greater than 10, now this condition will never execute, this condition will never evaluate to a true, because I is 2 and 2 is not greater than 10. So this loop, it will never run because the condition failed for the first time. And also if we do something like this, number I greater than 11, we will get an infinite loop. So also make sure that you are starting and then incrementing properly. Why we are getting an infinite loop? Because initially the value of I was 11, and then we keep on increasing I to more than 11, 12, 13, 14. So this I greater than 10, this condition will always be true. Let me write a while loop and a for loop so that you can compare things. So here I have written a while loop this side, and here I have written a for loop. They are exactly the same loop. This initialization part that we do outside of the while loop, inside a for loop, we do that part in here. Then this condition that we check inside the while loop here, we write that condition here. Now this increment operator that we write here, we write it here, and the execution is exactly the same. First of all, this initialization happens. In the for loop as well, this initialization happens. Then this condition is checked. Here as well, this condition is checked. Then it executes the body. Here also it executes the body.
then the increment or decrement happen. Here this increment or decrement happens similarly, exactly the same. After the increment, the condition is checked again. Here inside the for loop, the condition is checked again. If condition is true, we again execute the body and then increment or decrement. Here also, once the condition is true, we execute the body and then increment and decrement happens, and then we check the condition again. So let me show you here how things work, and you will notice that it's exactly the same how things work for a for loop. It's just a different way of writing the same code. So the condition is checked, number is initialized, number is printed, we get a 0 here, and then number is increased, and then the condition is checked again. Here also, if we debug this code, you will notice that first the variable I is initialized, so we see this variable I here, then condition is checked. But both of these things, because they happen on the same step, because all of these lines of code, they are written on the same line, so Java executes all of them at once. That's why we cannot see which one was executed first and which one was executed afterward, but the sequence is exactly the same. First initialization, then condition checking, then execution of the body, then increment decrement. Here also initialization, then condition checking, executing the body, and then increment decrement, and then again checking the condition. So I hope you have liked this video. I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, and tata, bye bye.